Well, I think we're live. Let me just check here. Let me go over to there. And I think, g'day everyone. Welcome back. This is my first live broadcast since we've come back. I'm just going to open up a Corona, but let me just close the mail. Oh no, I need to show you that before I do anything. I think we're live. Oops. Let me just check here. There we go. Turn that off. It's going to take me a while to get back into the swing of things. Let me open up with my Vegas little thing here. Oh, is it going to focus? Focus. There we go. Time for a Corona, everyone. I've still got a little bit of hay fever. People are going to say I've got the coronavirus. I had the hay fever the whole time I was in the USA. Sniffling, carrying on. And I've still got a little bit of it, even now. Where are we? So here's the Corona. Let's drink it. Cheers, everyone. It's been a while since I've done that with you all. I'm still a bit jet lagged though. Like we're sort of in the land of, we don't know where we are at the moment with time and everything else. Let me put that over there. So we're in pre-show. Just wanted to have a quick chat with everyone too, and we'll go through some news stories and stuff like that. I was going to do it yesterday, but we're a bit tired, so we're still, like I said, trying to get over a little bit. Aaron said hay fever. Yeah, well, because it was spring over in the US, I suffer from hay fever badly. So the second I got over into the US, I've been snuffly and carrying on like crazy, and I've had it for the whole 4 weeks. So Corona may help keep the bugs at bay. I love it. So it's I've suffered from it. I'm going to suffer from it twice this year. Obviously, I had it in our spring, and then I've copped it again in the American spring because everything's flowering over there. And then I'll cop it again later this year as well. So that's why my voice is a bit hoarse. So you just have to put up with me about that. Hope you brought back enough Corona for us. Well, I've still got a few left, and you can buy them cheap at the moment. So let's see who's here, because I'm curious to see who's here at the moment. Let me just move this down so it gets to be in the right spot. So bear with me, guys. It's going to take me a while to get back into the swing of things. Langston's here. G'day, Langston. Andre's also here. Ryan is here as well. Gilbert's here. Andre's here. Corona is in quarantine. Heineken is a way to go. Interesting. Greg said back in Melbourne, whole and healthy. Yep. Jim said, hello, mate. G'day, Jim. Guy with the camera said, how is the jet lag? Bad. We're waking up about 2 in the morning, and I'm really tired by sort of 8:30 at night, like it's struggling to stay awake, but I'll be okay in a few days. Do I need to switch back to Canon? Interesting. Corona, nice. Nivek, good morning. Aaron Ho, or good afternoon, I should say. Aaron Ho says, hay fever. Yep. Because it was the US spring, Aaron. Langston saying cheers. Jim said cherish. Bill said, hi, David. Glad you're home safe. Blue Moon is my beer. Interesting. Greg said Corona may help keep the bugs at bay. Yeah, may Greg. Hope you brought back enough Corona for all of us. Jim said hello. I have to put the air conditioner on in a minute so it's warm in here. Welcome back. Langston says, I'm here uploading all the clips, ETA of more than 1 day. Look forward to that, Langston. Calvin's here as well. Langston's also saying, hey, Calvin Lee. George said, what? No sports for the next few weeks? I know. How's it going to be? It's going to be pretty ordinary. All of our sports games are going to be basically empty stadiums, so I'm not looking forward to that. G'day, Aaron. How you going? I'll be drinking out of your cup in our next chat. Now, before I do want to do something, I did want to talk to you about this before I go on about other things. But as everyone knows, I did have a GoFundMe account that was raised $8,000. I had, I was saying, Greg Time, apparently a runny nose is a good sign if it's not. Yeah, I know they say that. If you've got a runny nose, it's meant to be a cold. I had a GoFundMe account which raised $8,000 for the animals, and I had a whole stack of trouble trying to transfer the money over. It was very hard to get GoFundMe to release the money over, because I released the money over to the Vets for Compassion, but they for some reason couldn't get the money out, and this went on for a month. We were trying to solve it. In the end, he had to put the money back to me, and then I could then transfer the money over. Now, I always like to be transparent with everyone, so I just wanted to show you this email. Let me just see if I can get this across. Let me just reduce this down. So this is the email from Vets for Compassion. And it just said, oh, I've got to make it smaller. How come that didn't update? What's it doing? Let me try. Oh, there we go. All right, so Vets for Compassion. It just said, Dear David, a heartfelt thank you for your very large donation to Vets for Compassion, Inc., arising out of our 500 million Animals Perish campaign on GoFundMe. We received the funds in a bank account on the 10th of February, 2020. So it just happened just before I left, actually, for the US. The personal receipt is down here. Where is it? So this is the personal receipt. That you can see there that there's a donation amount of $8,087.79. And that's the receipt number through there as well. And there's just a nice thank you note from Vets for Compassion down here as well. Let me just see if I can move that up. So that was Andrew Miles. He's the volunteer treasurer of this company, Vets for Compassion. So the whole amount went over. GoFundMe do take a small amount. I can't remember what it was. But that was just proof that I did transfer the money over. And there is the receipt number, which was 1412. So just wanted to give that, like I said, always wanted to be transparent to make sure everyone knew that I did pay the money over, and that's the receipt, their ABN number, and the company was called Vets for Compassion. So just wanted to share that with everyone. So let's see what other people are saying before we start this show. Let me come back to where we're up to. I've got to find where we're up to now. I think down here somewhere. I'll just keep going, I think. Everyone's just saying hi to each other. Jeff said, no sports and no concerts in the US. Yeah, well, we're having the same thing over here as well. It's we've got nothing happening. I believe now that we're stuck to below, well, we can go up to 500 in our groups, but I'm sure in the next week or two that's going to probably change. But eventually it's going to affect weddings, and I'd love to know too if any of you have been starting to find now that weddings are going to be cancelled or whatever. I know in Italy, Oreo is saying that weddings and all that sort of stuff is cancelled as well. So, you know, it's definitely going to have a big impact in the wedding industry. Like I said, at the moment here, cheers. At the moment here, we can have sort of groups of people up to 500, so it's not an issue at this stage. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, I suppose. I've got weddings coming up in the coming weeks, so I'm hoping nothing changes and they're not cancelled. But like everyone, we'll just have to see what happens. But yes, our local sports, the AFL, which is what we follow here in Australia, starts next week, and they're going to be in stadiums without any spectators, so it's going to be a bit weird. Aaron said I shook hands with him too late. Oh, with Tom Hanks. He's out here at the moment, actually. Oh, let me quit mail so we don't keep getting that noise. Mail quit. Now, we'll put the timeline down below, guys. So if you're not interested in having this quick, brief discussion, just skip to where I show the timeline, except I never started it. Oh, my God, I always forget. I'll just have to go through it. Later on. Dwayne said, G'day, Dwayne. How are you? Good to see you again. Awesome with the Vets for Compassion. Yeah, I know. I'm so glad that the money eventually got put over. Joris is saying, hi. I'm out of a job because of the virus. Oh, no, that's terrible, Andre. What country are you from, Andre? I can't remember. Photomix here. Ike's here as well. EOS are the new king of the north. I'm going to talk about that as the first story, Ike. Jim said, need your email for a twin girl concept. He's talking to Langston. Lee said Cripple hammer equals maybe price. I know, I think it's not going to be a cheap camera, and I'll talk about that as well. Jeff said pretty much the entire entertainment industry is shut down here. I think it's 100 here in Michigan. Yeah, at the moment we're 500 here that we can go to. Billy said, hi, David, welcome back from Glasgow. Thanks so much, Billy. Dave said, glad you're home. Okay, David. Ryan said, I've been to a few event shoots cancelled in LA. So, yeah, so they're starting to be cancelled too, are they, Ryan? Jeff said, I've had 4 cancel in the past 2 weeks in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, it's going to be pretty bad, I think. I wonder how... It's going to be interesting because our government did put out a package last week which gives money to all different people and everything, but like always, the arts has missed out. There was tax incentives for small business and things like that, so I may be able to get some things through the business, but you certainly aren't getting the immediate funds that other people are getting, which was interesting. I think they're giving out $750 to anyone that's unemployed immediately. And then there's tax breaks up to $25,000 if you have a business, but I think that only comes off your tax. So if things go bad for all of wedding photographers and everyone else, I don't know how good that's actually going to be. But I suppose at least all of our needy people, you know, the people that are unemployed and everyone else that do get benefits, get an immediate $750 that they can spend, I think, in another 2 weeks or something like that. Henry said, saw you at WPPI, but you were very busy with another fella. Too bad we couldn't say hello. You should have said hello, Henry. I was saying I really had a great time with everyone. I'll talk about that in a minute. Sup peeps, live and direct from Bermuda. I'll be getting 3 of the R5s. Woohoo! Greg said, Australia is stupid. We should have closed our borders as an island nation. We should have kept it out easily. Yeah, I know that is one advantage with Australia. We could close our borders, I suppose, and it stops everyone from getting in, or that, you know, then there'd be no more virus could come in. That may happen, though, in another week or so, a couple of weeks. It wouldn't surprise me. 250 people here in Louisiana. Great thing is that because the couples are so invested both financially and emotionally in the wedding, they won't cancel unless absolutely necessary. Photomix said, people want the EOS R to be Cripple hammer so bad. But even with the Cripple hammer, it still outspecs most cameras on the market. Yeah, and when I talk about that, I'm going to talk about that, Ike. I think that's going to be an amazing release. Australia is warm this time of year, right? Better get sick with great weather than cold weather. Yeah, we're still in our autumn, so yeah, it's lovely weather at the moment. Matthew said, hi, David, great to see you back. All right, so let's just quickly, I'm going to start the show. Put on your earmuffs because it's a bit loud, but hang on for a second and then we'll start the show.
If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over, we can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide.
Well, g'day everyone, we're back. I do sound a bit snuffly, don't panic. I have had hay fever for the last 4 weeks. I got it the second I went to the US because it was their spring. And I suffer from hay fever badly, so I've been a bit croaky, a little bit of a cough and everything else. But don't panic, I don't feel sick or anything. It's just hay fever, but I've had it for 4 weeks. So it's really... Look, I just have to say to start with what a fantastic time I've had in the US over the last 4 weeks. And in fact, I'm drinking a Corona. Absolutely brilliant. We travelled over 3,000 miles. I think it was 3,200. I can't remember the exact amount. But we did travel for a long, long time and covered over 3,000 miles all over the place. We actually went from LA. I was at Venice Beach. We then went to WPPI at Vegas. We did some things there, which I'll talk about soon. We also then went over to the Grand Canyon. We then went over to Monument Valley and did all things around there. We then drove from there all the way up to Yosemite National Park. And then we went from there to San Francisco and then back from San Francisco all the way back to LA again. Just made Disneyland before it closed and also just made it to Universal Studios before it closed, now due to the virus. So I've had a fantastic time. Like Dwayne's here. Dwayne organised an amazing thing for us, which was in the tram cars all through San Francisco. We did a full day of that, going all over the place, which was fantastic. Jerry organised the whole trip. I've been out with that many people that I just can't mention everyone, but you know who you are. And I met so many wonderful people all the time. And WPPI was an amazing meetup for me. I was a little bit disappointed in the size of WPPI. I thought it was going to be a little bit larger. But for me, it wasn't about that. For me, it was about meeting people that have followed me over a long period of time. And I had so many discussions with so many people, and it was wonderful to meet everyone. You know, like, I mean, I met up with Langston, I met up with Jim, Joe. Look, there was everyone out there that we met up with. There was so many, and it was just so wonderful. And I'll probably have memories like that for life. I met up with Aaron and Lizdian, his wife. Friends for life with those guys. We had such a wonderful time at WPPI in Vegas, and it was just amazing. Like I said, I've met so many wonderful, amazing people. And I said to Kerry a number of times that, boy, the people that I've met, I never would have met if I didn't have YouTube or my Facebook, you know, sort of social media. And it would have been so sad because the people that I've met have just been so wonderful. And it's just an amazing thing that we can do this. And I had friends. We have meetups all the time. We had a meetup in LA to start with where we all walked around the streets. We then had another meetup in Santa Monica where we shot during sunset. At the pier there, the Santa Monica Pier. We had meetups in Vegas. I had a full workshop that we did with Ike, which I'll be posting when I get around to editing that and putting that up. That was amazing. It was great to meet Ike and his lovely wife and the gorgeous baby that they have. It was just fantastic. And I just met so many people, and I just can't thank you all enough. And in the coming days, you'll probably see some videos put up and things like that of my trip as well. I haven't even downloaded them yet. I haven't even looked at the images that I've captured yet, but I will start posting some soon. But boy, it was just incredible, and it was amazing. I will be live, hopefully, with Aaron again this week. We want to start the Behind the Photo show again, so hopefully that will start again this week. I noticed Aaron's been posting again now, so the earthquakes must have subsided a little bit. But it was just wonderful. Langston had a great workshop that he did in Vegas as well. I did some stuff there as well. And it was just on and on. We went out to I think it's the Valley of Fires. I shot a couple of models out there. It was just wonderful. Jerry did a great job of organising the whole trip for us, driving us everywhere and stuff like that, and it was just so amazing. I met some amazing people, and I tried things like the Tamron 70-180. I looked at the Canon EOS R5 that I'll talk about as the first story today, and a stack of other things that I saw in the pre-release. But it was definitely more to me about meeting you guys and saying thank you, and really just meeting the people that I talk to, you know, whenever I come on live. And it was fantastic. So thank you so much for that. Had an absolute ball. Can't wait to share all the images and share some videos. I have got some reviews coming up. I've got the review of the backpack that I was carrying around. I've got the review of the tripod I was using, the NAR box that I was using that really made the trip so much easier to do, the gimbal that I was using that I took out there, some ND filters that I tried while I was out there. So stay tuned for all of those reviews as well coming in the coming days. So let me just quickly check this before we're starting up, and then we'll start the show talking about, I'm going to talk about the EOS R5 first. So Barry's just saying hi. Robert is saying loving his Z50. Let me just bring this back up. Loving the Z50 that he's got. It's a great camera. Jim said Corona. I know. Whew. Do I tell my kid I'm the reason for his 250 ping or no? What's that mean? Do I tell my kid I'm the reason for his 250 ping? I'm not sure what that means. AJ said, what's up, David? Guys with the camera said, are there any clips with the lovely ladies from media? I'll have some up for sure. But Ike's also posted one. If you want to see the girls that were at Ike's thing, check out Ike's YouTube channel. Also check out Aaron's channel, because they've already put up the videos. So if you're still in the chat, guys, just put your link to those videos so people can see them. So stick those in there. So there are already 2 up. I will obviously post mine up as well. What What else have we got? Langston said, laugh out loud, you did the most of the USA right before it closed. I know, we got out just before it closed, Langston. Basically before it started to get in lockdown. Don't be allergic to the thumbs up. Thanks for that, Jim. Ryan said, hi, Dwayne. Cable cars were amazing. That was so much fun. Aaron, I'll be live in the stream when we do the show next week. Raymond said, and for your team here, don't forget to thumbs up. Thank you so much. Langston said, would like to say there was more or less space dedicated to the workshop and classes. Good time, but virus time. Seems like a lot compared to other trade shows I do for work. Like I said, I was just a little bit... I always had this imagination of it being this incredibly massive trade show, but they even told me in the show that it was around a third smaller than the previous years. And I think that's the reason why I wanted to go so badly, because I think it's not going to probably last that much longer. I think YouTube and everything else is just going to take over trade shows. That's just my opinion. But you can see it now that a lot of trade shows are sort of disappearing. The Sony side to the show was pretty small. But I think they were happy. It was always busy there. So they're probably happy with what they got. But it was way smaller than, say, what Nikon and Canon had. But they were sponsoring the show, so you would probably expect that. I did speak to the Sony reps there, a number of them. They said that, that they were really thinking of not even doing it. And in the end, they did. And so they were surprised at the number of people that were coming to their stand because they were always busy. Got the camera cleaned. I wanted to say thank you to Michael too, because Michael... lent me his A7R4 for 4 weeks. So thank you so much, Michael, for that. And that's given me the ability to review that camera. So I'll be also giving a full review of that camera in the coming days. Like, I used it for a month, so I really had a good knowledge of how it works now. I've just got to see how it looks for noise and things like that, because I haven't looked at the images apart from looking from the NAR box. So stay tuned for that as well. I doubt you'll see any new cameras shipped until October, possibly a few test units. You're probably, with what's happened in Japan, John, I probably tend to think you're right. I don't think photo conventions should be done away with, but I think having them perhaps every 2 to 3 years will get the numbers back up. It may. And I also found that I should have probably not gone on the last day, because the last day was really quiet. I really should have gone out and done a shoot. But I did go out that morning. The last morning, because people were saying that there won't be many there, I went out and photographed the Hoover Dam. So I went out there with Joe. So thanks for taking me, Joe. And I think I saw Jason Lanier shooting in the desert. We said that, and I noticed his latest video is them shooting in the desert. And I'm sure we passed them. And in fact, I said to Joe and Kerry, I bet that's Jason Lanier shooting out there. Occasionally drinks Corona. I love it. Photomix said, everything has scaled down. Back when I first started going, it was at the MGM, and the trade show took up 2 whole convention rooms. This year it barely took up that one. And next year they've changed the location. So I think that's probably because they're predicting it'll be even smaller. So yeah. Guy with the camera said, I'm sub to Ike. He doesn't post enough. He posts a fair bit. He posted one today. I haven't watched it yet, but he's posted one. Aaron put his link up, so you can watch that if you like, guys, after this live, and that will give you the Ike's workshop. Like I said, I am going to be doing one. I'm sure Ike will post his as well. It was basically a big Sony Pro support booth. Yeah, I did get my camera clean while I was there, so they did have that. But yeah, it wasn't an amazing booth, but oh well, that's all it is. Chris said, hello, David. Rainy day in Los Angeles. Glad to see you got home. And the interesting thing is, Chris, I never got one day. The only day it rained was the last day before I flew home. On that day, it rained. We went to LA, walked all around LA. I wanted some shots of the Disney Center, and it was good. And that was the only day where we had rain for the whole nearly 5 weeks. The weather we had was unbelievable. Just stay tuned for the photos and stuff. PhotoMix said before it would be print and product room and gear room. For samples, Millers didn't have both there, and usually always have both. Sony barely showed up. Yeah, the Sony stand was not very good at all. But at least I could look at the Sony 20mm, which I looked at and used, and it's great. I put up a whole video about that where I spoke to one of the Sony managers, and it looks like just a fantastic lens. The times that I used it, incredibly sharp, incredibly light. It's basically like a G Master lens, only it's not rated at a G Master lens, but it's fantastic. I probably won't get it because I love my 24mm that much, the G Master, but if you didn't have a 24, the Sony 20mm 1.8 looks like it's going to be a brilliant lens. It was super sharp, super light. It will be a great gimbal lens. Oh, by the way, I've also tested the Tamron 20mm, so I'll talk about that in the coming days as well. Dwayne said, hello, had a great day with you all and got to, a shot I'm proud of. I need to send the pictures of David and Kerry. Yes, please do, Dwayne. And I love the images you posted on Instagram and stuff. It was fantastic. I upgraded to the A7R4 from the AR3 a few weeks ago. Love it, Nivak said. One of the high points was Daniel Norton wondering why I had so much gear. Aaron said, yes, it was him out there. Langston said, you hear that, Photomiac? I'll tell you one thing, which was really interesting, and you'll crack up about this. Because one of the amazing things was that when I went over to the Sony stand, I spoke to one of the high-ranking... You'll see that if you look at the review of the 20mm that I had. I spoke to one of the high-ranking Sony execs there, and also a lot of the people in on the actual stands as well. And nearly all of them knew who I was and actually said, David, lovely to meet you, loved your video. And they, in fact, mentioned about the animals that I've been posting for that GoFundMe page that I did. And they all basically knew who I was, and they were very appreciative and said, thank you for doing what you do for Sony and everything else. And that was just amazing and so brilliant. Compare that to when I went recently to a Sony show here in Australia, which was a print show where the awards were done and they had Sony execs in there. These were the Australian Sony execs. Not one of them came over and said hello to me. I don't even think they knew who I was. And it's really interesting. So we had a discussion about that, and I was talking to it about there, and I just said, boy, the difference between how I'm treated here in the US compared to how I'm treated in Australia was like chalk and cheese. In fact, I laughed and said, I probably should move to the US because obviously I'm appreciated out there for what I do. The Australian Sony side of things out here do nothing for me. So it was really interesting that they'd said that and they knew who I was and everything else. So I just thought I'd share that with you. That was incredible. So I traveled 12,000 kilometers or something and they knew who I was. And yet Sony Australia doesn't even have a clue who I am or even what I do for them. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Hey David, good to have you back again. Do you know if it's possible to use the A7 III, the A7R4 viewfinder normally while recording via HDMI info display on the Atmos Ninja? No display. I'm not sure because I haven't used the Atmos Ninja, but I know... I'm just trying to think because it's been so long since I've done it with the A7 III and the A9. You can do it on the A9. I'm not sure about the A7 III though because I've usually done it with the A9. Someone else may be able to help me that does that more than I do. It's been so long since I've recorded to the Ninja, having the viewfinder on at the back. I think it is possible, but there was a setting you had to do it. Someone else may be able to help me in the live chat. Langston said, yeah, apparently the weather held off for your visit. It was amazing, Langston. I can't believe how good you look, David. I am jet lagged. Trust me. I still feel really a bit all over the place. Also, the other thing too, people have been stirring me. They've been laughing about how big the guys were. Ike's crew particularly had some massive African Americans, and they were so funny because, and also Sizzleman gave me this massive cuddle, and he was a big basketball player. And I was tiny compared to those guys, and they'd be picking me up and cuddling me. It was so funny. I loved it. Those guys were amazing. that were like at Ike's workshop and everything else. It was just so good. And we had such a wonderful range of people. You know, there was people from Filipino backgrounds, Chinese background, African American backgrounds, everything else, and it was just so much fun. And the people were just amazing. They really were. Dan said, "Hey Dave, great to have you back. Quick question: if it can record 4K on the A9, can I grab a high-res frame for the photo from the recording?" Yes, I've done that myself and showed that recently, Dan, and it works quite well. What else have we got? Langston said, "Just films, guys lifting heavy stuff. Don't think I've lifted since." Okay, he's talking to someone else. I'm laughing at that. They're saying now they know where the thumbs down come from at Sony Australia. Who said that? Because it just jumped. That was the funniest thing I've read in ages. Where was it? I've got to find that comment. I am going to come to the news stories, guys, but this is the first one back for 5 weeks, so it is going to take a bit longer. It was Raymond said, "Now we know where the thumbs down come from. Damn Sony, damn Australians, laugh out loud." That's so funny. What else? Would you miss Australia? You would miss Australia. I would. I love Australia and I would never leave Australia. But I'm just saying it's interesting how I got more support over there than I do here. It's really interesting. And you got some incredible weather in San Francisco. We certainly did, Ryan. The weather in San Fran was amazing. Yeah, he looked up in San Francisco for sure. I'm not sure what that meant. Okay. All right. So let's get started anyway, because I want to go through some of these rumors and news bulletins. So the first story today is this. So let's talk about this because, boy, I discussed this a while ago and I said that I think this was a really exciting thing that I thought Canon was going to be doing. And a lot of people were throwing back to say, it would be crippled and everything else. And I said, even in the photography videography school, I said, look, let's give Canon the benefit of the doubt here and wait to see what's going to happen when the camera is finally announced or released. And it looks like they really haven't hit this with a hammer at all. And if this, and it looks like it is now, if this can shoot, they're saying it will shoot 8K with no crop. And that's at 30p. And they're saying down here that Sony, take note. Today, Canon confirmed the EOS R5 will have no crop in 8K recording mode. Moreover, it will also have animal IAF. This means the future A7S II successor has a high bar to match. And it does. I mean, the only thing is I'm still wondering, the only issue may be that this is like a 8K JPEG thing that could be like a time-lapse. We still don't know yet, but it doesn't look like that. But they are now saying there's going to be no cripple hammer. And if you look here on the Canon updates, where it says here that it says Canon has updated some 8K video and autofocus specifications for the EOS R5. And what they're saying here is that it's going to have 8K video. It's going to be 30 frames per second, no crop, internal recording, dual pixel AF available in all 8K modes. Now that is something really amazing because earlier models always had this. You couldn't use dual pixel autofocus when they did 4K and things like that. It's saying here that the autofocus has body AF tracking, face AF tracking, eye AF tracking, animal eye detect and tracking, so you can easily and steadily track your subject as well. So this is incredible. So I think what's happened here, if this does come out like they're mentioning now, this is a generational leap over what Sony or anyone else has got. And this is really interesting. I'm really interested to see how much this will be. I'm betting it will be 5,000 to 6,000 United States dollars. That's what I'm betting it's going to be. So it's probably going to be about, I don't know, 8 or 9,000 Australian. But this could be the camera that really changes everything. Now, if you're dealing with 8K, they're not talking about what 4K you have on this camera. It probably will definitely have 4K 60, I would think. If it's capable of shooting 8K, it will probably have 4K 60. It will also probably have good bit depths and everything else. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be around $6,000. But boy, has this pushed Sony. If this is as they're now talking, this really will hurt Sony and any other manufacturer out there. Spec wise, nothing will beat this if it's as it seems to be at the moment. And it looks like how they're now saying that it's not going to be cropped at all, that maybe Canon has finally woken up. And that's a great thing. And even though I'm a Sony user, like I always say to you, I'm happy for any manufacturer to come out and do really well, because we all benefit from it. And this is the interesting thing, that I can't understand sometimes why people, particularly in the Facebook groups and everyone else, is so willing to try and bag the camera before it's even released, and to say, that it's going to be crippled hammered and everything else. Well, it looks like it's not going to be, for starters. And you should be thankful, because if this is as good as it is, Sony have got to answer it, because I'm telling you, if they didn't, I'd buy this camera. I mean, I would love to have a camera that was, I wouldn't use 8K, but if this is capable of 8K, you can guarantee it will do 4K 60, and at great bit depths. We all know that the Canon autofocus now is very, very good, very good, particularly with the latest updates like the eye autofocus and everything. Now that Canon have been working on that, have improved unbelievably over the coming months. The other thing too is we know that their lenses are probably the best that are out there. So it's an interesting scenario. So I do now believe that probably Canon has woken up and finally said, okay, we're going to treat mirrorless seriously, and we're going to come out with an amazing camera. And I don't know how they've done this. It might be that you get 8K for a minute, but I would be happy with that, because, like I said, most of my stuff that I shoot is 10, 15 seconds. I've always said to you that I'd be happy with a minute or 5 minutes of 4K 60. This is why I can't understand Sony holding back for so long. But I don't know. It seems to me like it's going to be fantastic for Canon users or anyone else. I want to go to the chat, because I'd love to know what you guys are saying about this. Let's have a look. Ryan said, look at their mirrorless glasses. I think they're talking about prices. 8K will be 4K or more. I think it'll be about 5 to 6. That's what I'm predicting that camera is going to cost. Never took a photo with a spec sheet, especially one from a rumour site. Don't know why anybody has. John said, if it does uncropped 8K in any fashion, it's 4K 1080 performance will be amazing. And that's exactly right, John, and that's what I'm thinking as well. Guy with the camera said 4K 120 is the bigger news. I've been wishing for months. Have they said that it'll be 4K 120? I don't know. Has that already been mentioned somewhere? I'm to Brown. G'day, mate. 8K, 6K price tag. I think that's probably what I'm saying it will be as well. It would be funny if the camera does 8K uncropped, but 4K is 1.5 crop. I don't think so, but you never know, do you? John said, Tony Northrop speculates 6K United States dollars. Oh, did he? I haven't looked at that. That's what I'm thinking, between 5 and 6. Langston says, Canon has my attention. Greg said, as a still shooter, it's still not close to the A7 R4. Yeah, you're probably right there, Greg, but it certainly beats anything in the video side of things. Shane said, Sony will now have to photograph your thoughts to exceed expectations. I know. It is going to be interesting what they're going to do there now. They backed themselves into a corner with that one. They should never have said that statement, I think, because now it's going to be tough. Not even Sony 8K uncrop makes me wonder about higher end video. And I've talked to you about this before, because don't ever believe, and this is why I think the camera makers are flawed in their thinking, that don't ever sort of think that this will hurt the higher end, because I don't believe it will. Because the thing is that if you're doing high-end video, you're not using a digital SLR. You're using the high-end cameras, like the Canon 200s, like the F9 and the F7. They're using cameras like that. If you go to a high-end shoot, they're using cameras that can connect to all of these hard drives, connect the microphones in direct. All things like this that you can do in the high-end cameras. So I think this would be a great B cam. And this is why I don't understand if Sony are holding back because of their F7 series or the F9 series, that it's a flawed thinking, because those cameras would be a great B camera to, say, an F9 or an F7 or something like that. Or this would be a great B cam to, one of the 200 series or whatever they are for Canon. So I think it's very silly thinking the way that they do. Someone just gave a donation, so I just have to say thank you for that. Sam, thank you so much, and thank you for joining us again today. Sam's a wonderful bloke. Thank you so much, Sam. I'll read what you said there. Good to see you, David. Bring the competition. Canon Sony will come out with something better at the lower price. Let me just come back to where we were with questions. So I think it's a bit of a flawed thinking, and perhaps Canon have finally woken up to that thinking now, that it's better to sell a stack of these lower-ended cameras because it's not going to hurt their top line anyway. And, it's just an interesting concept. Photomix said, yeah, he lucked up in San Francisco for sure. It was warmer than LA. I know, the weather was incredible. It was around 21 degrees Celsius. It was beautiful when we got there. I can't believe how it was so warm. Dwayne said he loves his Sigma 105, the colors it renders. Did you notice that? And do you think the 35 Sigma 1.2 will render the same? Well, the 35, from what I've seen, is amazing. I know Michael was shooting with that, and the results he got from that are tremendous. He was using that on the day we had the LA meetup, and that is a beautiful lens as well. The Sigma 105 I adore, and in fact I was using that again when we did the shoot with Langston. I used the Sigma 105 there. I adore that lens as well. So snow in New York City all winter, which sucks for outdoor photography. Dwayne said time for Sony to give us some faster glass. Yeah, it probably is. I'd love a 1.2 from Sony. Ryan said, one thing I've learned about Canon is to never underestimate their capability. And exactly, Ryan. And like I said, I think this is good for the industry overall. If you're talking about sales tanking, camera manufacturers have to do this, because at the moment, there's not really much reason why you would look, and I'll talk about this more for when I review the R4, but the R4 is definitely a better camera than the R3. But it's not a massive upgrade. I mean, it's not where you go, wow, it's completely different and they've up-spec'd it. It's like a incremental upgrade. Plus, the other thing is too, the A9 too is like an incremental upgrade from the A9 I. There's nothing where you would say, wow, I've got to get that because of what's on offer. And I think this is the first time, if this EOS R is as it's spec'd, it's the first time where they have leapfrogged everyone in the competition, and that's the interesting thing about this. And I'm not sure how Canon have done this, but if it is as it's talked about, it is going to really up the ante for everyone out there, well, which is pretty exciting, really. Where else have we? It's saying 8K will be 4K or more. Yeah, I'm predicting, like I said, between $5,000 to $6,000 for that camera. Canon has my attention. Oh, I've gone back, actually. Photomix says, I still film my YouTube videos on my Penny G85. Nothing wrong with that camera. Welcome back home. By the way, David, I'm so happy that you had a great time in the United States. Loved it. I had an absolute ball. Just wait till you see some of the video footage and images that I've got. Andrew said, very tempting for me, especially if Sony doesn't answer soon. I might just have to switch. I'm not going to switch. I mean, I'm staying with Sony now forever. I shouldn't say forever, but I can't see myself switching again. I did it when I left Nikon, and it costs a lot of money to switch over. But the EOS R, if it's spec'd like it is, it may be something that interests me for the video side of things. And, it may be that if Sony don't do something, that I jump the gun and get a Canon. Who knows? Hero says, real 8K, time to sell a kidney. And 4K 120. So it does have 4K 120, does it? Well, that's incredible. Jim says, hi, Hero. Actually, that's a lie. The low light on the G85 is trash. Look, you just can't get the low light on the Panasonics as much. You just can't. It's the sensor. You can't beat that technology. I shoot Canon and I go into debt for the R5 for the photo specs alone if it's legit. Dave, your credit card is showing next to your Be a Best Hide. No, it's not a credit card. It's actually a Virgin card. It's only my Velocity card for flying, actually. So it's not credit card. Only thing with a high megapixel sensor to do 8K, it would be slightly worried about the low light performance. I mean, who knows about that now? Because they're improving low light performance all the time. The interesting thing for me is going to see how the R4 compares to the other cameras that I've got. And I'll talk about that when I look at the files. Where were we? Whoops. Thank you so much for the donation, Sam. They already said 8K 30 with no crop with PDAF focusing. I know it's incredible. Matthew said the specs of the R5 are looking awesome. Are there any specs yet for the R6? No, not that I've heard of. Hell, a great B cam to my Blackmagic. Exactly, Langston, it would be. Well, Canon and Sony want their cinema cameras for the A and B. Crazy that the FX9 still can't do 4K 60 without a crop. Yep. Langston said, but at 3 times the price, maybe not, unless I sell out the whole Sony system and become a Canon shooter so it can do dual purpose. Paul said Sony killer. I don't think it'll be a Sony killer, Paul, but it's certainly going to hurt Sony, that's for sure. Certainly on the video side of things, it's going to hurt. On the still side, it's probably not so much, but video side of things, definitely. John said, Canon rumors say similar specs to the R5, but no 8K and 20 megapixel sensor. Greg said, I have the 35 1.2 and love it. Yep, it's an amazing lens. Like I said, I was looking at Michael using it. It's incredible. It's better than the 105 if that's possible. But it's a big lens though, so you've got to be aware that the 35 1.2 is a big lens, so you've got to be prepared to lug that around. Alex said, problem is Sony is limited in what they can do, as the FX9 doesn't give all that much and they won't want to go above that. As a Canon shooter, I'm really glad Canon is changing the way they make cameras now. This will make sure there is some healthy competition between Canon and Sony. Exactly. That's the thing it is. It benefits us all. And don't hate, guys. Like, don't hate Canon for doing this. You should be thankful because Sony will have to do something to combat it. What else? Let me just see if I can go to some more. Aaron said, I so want 4K 120. I just want 4K 160. I'd love that. 4K 120 is more important than 8K. We're about 7 to 8 years from the general public start mass adapting 8K TVs. Yeah. David, you're drinking a Corona. Yes, I certainly am, John. Cheers. Ike said, I saw a comment on Peter Hurley's R5 video. Someone said that as a Sony user, the EOS R5 makes them nervous. And someone replied, because you've never loved your camera, you just bought it for the specs. Interesting. When I saw that, I nearly fell out of my chair. Tony said Sony may differentiate in size. The R5 looks incredible and their lens lineup is amazing, but they are chonky. A7 III with prime, especially 2.8, are almost as small as a Micro Four Thirds setup. Yeah, they are. They're great small cameras, and that's very, very true. Bill said, if this is all true about the camera, we'll need real fast and big cards. It really is, though, because I love my Z6. I'm not bothered at all. Definitely not switching from Sony, and I hope Canon does push in Sony's crap for recycling sensors over and over. Dwayne says, I gave up the R4 for the R3. The noise and sensitivity shake made me miss some shots. And that's the interesting thing I'm going to talk about when I do the review. The other thing that was the killer for me, like I said, I used the R4 for the whole month. And boy, at the end of the day, was the file size like crazy for storage. It really was nuts. Luckily, I had an R box, but the storage requirements were crazy. And I think if I did have one, I'd probably use it like when I had my R2, which would just be for the occasional wow shot where I needed the megapixels. Overall, Well, look, I'll wait for my judgment until I look at the images. I might be so wowed with the images that I'm just going to say, wow, you've got to go with the R4. But so I won't comment much until I've looked at the images, but I have used it extensively now, so I can talk about that. What else have we got? Photomech, have you seen how big the Blackmagic camera is with that new tiny ass sensor? Yes, because we were seeing it with Langston all the time. Langston's enjoying his... that you're talking about the new Panasonic. Carol, hi Carol, how are you? Sorry I'm a little late. Well, at least you're here, Carol, so it was great. Carol is another person that we met up with while we were in LA. We also had dinner with a whole stack of us as well. I called a meetup when I went back to LA from San Francisco. So we just called out a meetup and we went and got Mexican with everyone. And it was just so much fun. I loved it so much. It was so great meeting you all. Okay, so that's that story. Let's go on to the next one, which is this announcement, which is Sony product announcement. Now, there's a talk that Sony are going to do an announcement on April the 20th at 9 a.m. Now, from what I've been reading, it looks like it's not going to be it's not going to be like the A7S III or anything like that. They're talking about that it may be another video camera, I think, and I'll talk about that in a second. It just says Sony's press conference for NAB. Now, remember, NAB has now been postponed or cancelled, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with camera announcements and things like that. And I think with the coronavirus... I think with the coronavirus, things are still going to be, pushed back a lot. Like I think the Nikon D6 is also being pushed back now. So we don't know what's going to happen now with release or announcements that are coming out. It says Sony continues daily monitoring of the evolving situation around the spread of the coronavirus, which is seen as escalating globally, and as such is taking various precautionary measures. But they are talking about releasing something, and I found this, where was it? Here, that they said one of the things that may be announced is this PXW FX6 spec, so that's a new video camera that they're talking about. They're now saying down here that we'll record 3840, well, it's 4K at 30 frames per second and 1920 by 1080, so it's going to be a... I think it's going to be like an FX9, only not quite as good, I believe. But looking at this, there's nothing excites me about that at all, looking at it. There's also rumours that Sony will showcase 3 new is it CINI? I can never remember how you pronounce that, but the CINI E-mount lenses, a sign it is, isn't it? Yeah. That they will announce new 3 sign lenses, including the 16 to 35 T3.1 lens as well. I've used these recently, and not this lens, but others, and it is amazing if you're doing manual focus how much better it is if you have the sign lenses. They're fantastic. So anyway, that's interesting that they're talking about releasing some new lenses as well. So that's that one. So there's not much in there in announcements. They're saying that they don't believe the A7S III successor will be released at that point. So who knows when we're going to get that. I'm going to continue on. This was an interesting discussion that I saw a while ago. I think this was a week ago or something or whatever. I read this while I was in the States. That DxOMark they basically tested the sensor for the A9 II, and they've said that it's slightly better than the A9. And it probably bears fruit because when I did that test showing the color and everything like that, the images did definitely look a little bit nicer straight out of camera on the A9 II, but it's nothing you couldn't tweak in Lightroom in 2 seconds. But if you look at the overall scores, they're saying that the score of the A9 II is 93. So it's not up with the A7 III, but it's not designed for that. So it's 93, whereas the A9 was 92. It's slightly above the A9 in every area. Now, it's probably something that Sony could have added with a firmware fix if they wanted to, but they haven't done it. But really, if you're looking at those figures, they are so close that it probably doesn't matter anyway. And I found that when I looked at the A9, because I had the A9 II for a month, when I looked at the two of them, I really didn't think that the difference was worth the cost update. I still believe that the best deal is to buy the A9, and then use the money you would save from getting an A9 II to get another lens, something like the Sony 21.8 or the 24mm or something like that. I think you'd be far better off doing that than spending a bit more money and then not having the money to buy a lens. Unless you're a sports shooter. If you're a sports shooter, the A9 II, yes, because you might need the networking. And the better straight-out-of-camera JPEGs. The straight-out-of-camera JPEGs on the A9 II were better than what it was with the A9, but I don't shoot JPEG anyway. And I could match the two of them within, a couple of sliders in 2 seconds. So I don't think it's an issue. So yes, there is a slight difference in quality, but it's that minimal that I don't think it really matters. My recommendation at this stage is to buy the A9 over the A9 II and buy some good glass to go with it. Wait for the next version of the A9. The A9 III probably will be a sort of a more substantial update with a new sensor and everything as well. Next story, I'll come back to all of these questions a little bit later on. Sigma as well. This was an interesting one because the Sigma CEO stated in his discussion that they were now going to concentrate on the release of full frame and APS-C lenses for E-mount. So this makes complete sense to me because Sony is selling these and Sigma are selling these, I should say, like by the bucket load, and their lenses are incredible. Look at the 105, look at the 35 1.2 lens that's out there, the 2470 that's come out, the 70-200 will be out soon. So now that they're saying that they're going to focus on the release of full frame and APS-C lenses, boy, are we probably going to get some lenses coming up in the coming months or the next couple of years. So that's really exciting in itself. And I think I've said many, many times before to you that we're blessed as Sony users, that we just have so much choice that we can grab from lens, the lens department now. We've got Sigma, we've got Tamron, we've got Samyang, we've got everything that's just coming out. Sony, it's incredible. We really are spoilt for choice now, and it's a great place to be if you think about how we were a couple of years ago. It is. I think it's Sign, yes, John said. Cine. Oh, is it Cine? That's right. It might be Cine lens. Yeah. Thanks, John. Tamron, the 180. This is just a size comparison between the 17-24, the 28-75, and the 70-180. I did use this when I was at WPPI, and boy, I can tell you this lens was incredible. Tamron are very, very enthusiastic about this lens. When I was talking to Mark about this lens, he basically said that he thinks this will be the sharpest lens that Tamron have got. And when I took some test images, all I can say is it was fantastic. You haven't got stabilization, but you've got it in the body, so that doesn't bother me at all. And it's the size. When you feel this lens and feel how small it is, how light it is, the quality of construction is amazing. In fact, Jerry dropped the 17-28 when we were in San Francisco. He dropped it to the floor. It bounced a few times, and it didn't even put a mark on it. And I said to Jerry at the time, boy, I bet you're glad that wasn't a Sony lens, because it definitely would have scratched it badly or whatever. But the Tamron lens just bounced down the path. He picked it up again and put it straight back on his camera. Ryan knows. Ryan was there when it happened. It was incredible, and they're built incredibly strong for what they are. The material that they make it from is just outstanding. So if you are after the Holy Trinity, once this is released, it's going to be a great setup for you if you wanted to go that way and travel light. I think this will sell very, very well. When Australia gets it, obviously I'll get a review unit that I'll be able to test for you guys. I'll always be honest again. But from the usage that I got at WPPI, it's going to be a fantastic lens, and I can't wait to see it. It does extend a little bit, but not too much. It's not a massive extension that you sort of see there. The lens is made out of the same materials as what we had before. It does have a lock on it. And if you look at it compared to the Sony lens, this is the 2.8, I think. The difference is substantial, and the difference in weight is really substantial. So if you're like me and you want to carry around the lighter weight type lenses, this is fantastic. Last couple of things before we open up the chat for a little bit. Good news, China factories are limping back now to life. But it's going to take a long time, I think, to catch up. So we are going to be behind for a long time with waiting for things. But at least it looks like they're starting to get over the hill, whereas everyone else is sort of coming up. China seems to have stopped it. But we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like things are looking a little bit better. And lastly, I did want to say that most of the shows now have been cancelled. Like NAB has been cancelled. The UK photography show has been cancelled now or postponed until September, I think. NAB is gone. Anyway, all things are being cancelled. And I'll be surprised if anything runs for the next few weeks, particularly. So it's something I suppose we're going to have to wait and see what happens in that regard. So let's just open up the chat before we finish. Cheers again. Guy with the camera said, the Tamron lenses are just too good to overlook. Totally transforms the Sony system for me. I'm the same. I love them. When I was in the US, I used the 17 to 28 and the 28 to 75 nearly all the time on my A7 III. And I also tried out the 20mm as well because I wanted to do a review unit. I've got to send that back. So I'll let you know how that goes in a review that's coming up as well. But it was just a pity the 70 to 180 I just couldn't get. There wasn't any in Australia before I left. But like I said, I did get to use it in WPPI. And in fact, I talked about it extensively with Mark, one of the Tamron guys there that you'll see if you go back a couple of videos on my page. I wanted the Tamron 17 to 28 until the Sony 20mm came out. Sometimes it's important though. Like I noticed when I went to, I'm just trying to think. I'm still jet lagged. When I went to the canyon with that has the Horseshoe Bend. When I went to Horseshoe Bend, I had to use the 17mm because it was I needed that wider lens to get the whole perspective. I think I did take a couple with the 20mm, but the 17 definitely gave me a bit more wide width, and that's obviously where the 16 to 24 is also very, very good. So if you do need that really wide angle lens, you still need something in that realm where the 20 may not be big enough for some uses, so it's just something you've got to think about. I would love Tamron and Sigma to branch out to other brands so I can try out the L-mount Alliance. Really would appreciate thumbs up too, guys, if you can. It does make a difference to my channel, especially seeing I'm unsupported. My thoughts exactly about the Tamron 17 to 29. But the 20mm Tamron is a really cheap lens for what it is, and it's very sharp from what I've looked at. So stay tuned for that one. Vodameg said, the Tamron is great, but high performance and fast focus is not what comes to mind when people think Tamron and Sigma. More like great value and great image quality. I found that the 17 to 28 and the 28 to 75 focus is very, very fast enough for anything that I use it for. The 20mm was quick, but not as quick as what those lenses were. The prime lens, the zoom lenses. The other thing too that you've got to consider is it does make a little bit of focus noise. The 20mm definitely has that focus noise problem that could be an issue if you have onboard mics. It doesn't affect the focus though, but you can hear it moving backwards and forwards. Langston says, I've got coffee and Kahlua, is it? And Bailey's. Woohoo! So the Tamron 70 to 180, no, it's not stabilized, but you don't really need it. Remember, the cameras are anyway. The A7 III, the A9, all of them have stabilization on the camera. David, would you get rid of your Sony 70 to 200 f4 for the Tamron? Yep. In fact, I'm going to sell my 70 to 200 in the next few days. I'm going to put it on the market. Don't know what I'll get for it. Let me know what you think it's worth. But I will probably put that on the market in the next few days. John said, I've got a nice, what's that? Chianti, no fave beans, and definitely no liver. I'm not sure what that means. Come on, guys, hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the show. Thanks, Langston. What's that? Thanks, Photomic. Then it's going to be bad for the 180 without a tripod. Not really. Look, from what I used when I was in the show, it doesn't really affect it. You might just have to consider raising your shutter speed a little bit, but I've found that the axis in the camera is usually good enough. Remember, I used to be shooting cameras without any stabilization at all, and they only had lens stabilization, and I never had a problem with that. Like Ben still shoots with his Nikon D850 or D810, and he's only got lens stabilization, and he doesn't whinge about having images that aren't working correct. Remember, we have 3-axis in the camera, so if you can't get a stable shot with 3-axis in your camera, you're doing something wrong. The NEAF Northeastern Astronomy Forum was also cancelled. They have Canon and mostly astro cameras and telescopes. Okay, interesting. I think everything is going to be. Let me clarify even more. Nothing wrong with putting the Tamron on the A9. I just wouldn't expect world-class performance, like David said, fast enough. It is, yeah, Ike, it is. It's definitely fast enough. Look, it's not G-Master fast, and yeah, I'm the first to admit that. It's not like you're shooting with, you know, like the 135 or the 55 or something like that, but it's certainly fast enough for anything that I shoot. If you're shooting sports, it may be a compromise. You know, like you might want to then go to G-Master lenses and things like that. It's like putting street tires on a race car. Yep, exactly. JK, I love you. Oh, do you love me? Dave, you're obviously unfamiliar with both Italian wine and Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, I am actually. Simmer down, JB edits. Because he loves me, I know it's quite funny. Guy with the camera said the 70 to 180 is too small to need a tripod color or need IS. You don't need it. Like I said, I used it, and you're not going to need IS. If you need IS with that, you're doing something wrong. Canon says aimed at 5D users, not the 5D600. What was that for, David? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about there. So we just about caught up. You can still fire away with a couple of questions if you want to. Like I said, stay tuned for all of the stuff that I've done in the US. That will be coming in the coming days. It's probably going to take me a while to catch up with everything, and I'm still jet lagged, so it might take me a while to get everything back and up to running again. If you have any questions about anything, leave them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. That would be great. Greg said, you mentioned the NAR box. How good was it? Fantastic, Greg. And I'll talk about that in the review. But if you do something like I did, which was to go away for a long time, and you want an amazing system that you can just plug in and get the images off the camera backed up and verified, the NAR box is as good as anything you will ever get. I mean, I know you can back up to hard drives, but the NAR box does it so well for you. You know, like it verifies the files, and I've not seen anything out there that will actually go through a full verification when it backs something up. It does incremental backup, so you don't have to format your card because it incrementally backs up everything that you've done from that point. You can put star ratings on, so when you come home, the star ratings are sitting on your on the files ready to take into Lightroom, so they automatically come up. And you know, like Jerry, who was going the traditional way of using his laptop and a couple of hard drives to back up, it'd take him ages and ages to do it. I'd be finished before he even basically started to open up his laptop and get things connected. It was that good. So for what I did, it was brilliant. They're not cheap, but boy, they're fantastic. I had, and Langston said presets. I had presets set up. I had one for each camera, the A9, the A7 III, the A6 400, and my A7 R4. And then I just put them into those presets. And so they go into your separate folders. All the folders are intact. It takes over all your video files. You can transcode video if you want to. I didn't do that, but you can do it if you want to. And like Langston said, you can also set up, he was discussing this with me while I was over there, it'll also upload to Dropbox as well. Like, it does some incredible things. And remember, this is built with processors inside, so it's very, very fast. It actually has a graphics card and everything inside this machine. So all I can say to you is it was brilliant. It's not mine. It's on review, so I have to send it back. Would I buy one? Yes, if I had another trip. But I just don't need it unless I go on a long trip because my system already works. I have dual card slots and everything else. But if you did what I did and you go on a long trip or something like that, or you really are paranoid about your files and things like that, the Narbox is brilliant. It's built like a tank. I loved it. That's all I'll say. But stay tuned for the review. Fedamix said, yes, I agree. Even without IBIS in the lens, the cameras still have stabilization. We just have to go back to good old tried-true technique. Exactly, Ike. If you've got good technique, you will not get... not having a stabilized lens is not going to matter. Like the 180 rule shutter, yeah. Langston said, the Narbox is super fast and I love the presets. Yep, I totally agree, Langston. GTG, it's been fun. Cheers all. If you're shooting the 180, your shutter should be at least 250. I usually double the shutter. So, like if you were using it at, 100 mil, you'd say do 1/200th. And that's how I work it out. And then I don't tend to get any vibration. If you're using the R4, you have to put that up again because you've got to take the resolution into it as well. Langston says you can actually extend the storage by plugging in another SSD. I did do that, yeah. I had also the backup. So what I did was I had the Narbox and then I had a Samsung SSD that I'd plug in that was USB-C and I'd back it onto the Narbox and then back up from the Narbox to the SSD. So I did have those two copies as well as my cards in the camera. Greg said, was there any other must-have tech you took on your trip? Well, I enjoyed the tripod, Greg. I really did enjoy using it. That was the Peak Design tripod. It was amazing to use if you wanted to undo it quickly and push it back, but it's $1,200 Australian. But for what it is, it's incredible and it packs up so tightly and things like that, so that was amazing. Was there anything else that I had to have? I enjoyed using the ND filters that I had, the square filters. I'll talk about that because it was nice to have gradient filters rather than having to do that later on. But no, probably the Narbox was the best thing that I took on the trip, I think. I'll reserve my judgment of the R4 until I do the full review and check the files. And I also used the 360 a lot. I did use the 360 camera quite a bit as well. I got my gimbal stolen. I left it, I think, in the shop. I went back and it was gone. That was my Osmo Mobile. I'll have to buy another one. So that was stolen. I think that was in San Francisco. So I did use that a lot, Greg. Until that point, I loved using the Osmo Mobile. That was brilliant. It works so well. The iPhone video is stunning for what it gives you. And I did use that a hell of a lot until I got to San Francisco and it was stolen. I always edit on vacation. I don't think I can break that habit. I didn't touch it. I have not touched it or even looked at the files. And you know what? I actually enjoyed it. All I did, because we were on the go so much, we were out every day, basically got back each night around about 8:30 p.m. I just downloaded the images, checked Facebook and YouTube and things like that, and then went to bed and didn't look at them at all. But I was comfortable in knowing that I had multiple backups. Whereas Jerry was looking at his images and things like that because he took his laptop. I did take my iPad and I was initially thinking about looking at them and stuff, but I was so tired by the end of the day with all the shooting we did, I never got around to doing it. Dwayne said, I have the 12 to 24. That would be amazing. Sony, would you prefer that or the Tamron 17 to 28? Can't filter the Sony easily. Yeah, that's the problem, Dwayne. I find the 17 to 28 is all I need. I'd like a larger prime though, but it would be a prime. If I had the choice out of both of those two, I'd get the 17 to 28, but that's me. But the 12 to 24 is an amazing lens. But like you said, you can't put filters on that easily. Photomix says, if I had a new 16-inch MacBook Pro, I could edit on the vacation and then I could pump out more content. The 17 to 28 is real nice. Got it for the 2.8, not the filters. Have you tried the 77mm filter trick? I'm not sure what that is. I can edit on the go. I just need to be at my workstation. Oh, I can't edit on the go yet. Well, I didn't, like I said, I didn't edit at all. All the photos that you've seen that I've shared are just taken all from my iPhone. So where are we? Let me just bring up the file new window. I'll just show you the images that I've shared. Let me go to here. Oh. Come on, wake up. Let me see if I can find some for you, and I'll show you the ones that I've posted that were all from my iPhone. Let me come over here. There's a couple, so like, oh, I've got to make this much smaller. Let me come down a bit. So this was from my iPhone. There's a couple that I've taken from the NAR box to that, and I'll show you that. But I mean, but they're all unedited, so nothing I've done here has been edited. So this was a couple of days ago, actually, when I went to Universal Studios. This is the Harry Potter land. It was amazing because it was a grey sky. That was the only day where it was. It ended up sunny, but no rain. But it was grey, and it matched this sort of background of the snow and stuff on these buildings amazingly. So that was what I posted there. This was another one that was taken straight from my iPhone. It was Brooke. This was another one where we did Dom, a great shoot that we had at Santa Monica Pier as well. These were all Disneyland photos, so I won't show these, but let me just see if I can bring up. These were ones where we did, I'm just sent back some pics of the bag that I did, which I loved. Oh, also the camera backpack, I adored, and I'm hoping they can keep it, but I'll probably have to send it back because I think it's the only one they've got here. The Think Tank Retrospective 15 is the best backpack I've ever had, and I've done a full review, and I'll talk about it and show what was in it. It was incredibly comfortable, never got sore shoulders, love the material, so that is one of the things that I did enjoy, Greg, that I really did love. So stay tuned for the review on that. This was another one that I shot of Aaron and lovely Lisdian. So these are a few that I can post at this stage. This was from the my high-end camera taken from, this was from the A7R4, but it's unedited, so it's just straight out of camera. Anything that you see here will be straight out of camera. This is another one I did from the R4, just brought from the NAR box straight into Facebook. It's my beautiful wife, Kerry. This was another one where I took of Lisdian. This was really interesting because we got the smoke that we had. I got smoke from a little town. They were selling fireworks and stuff, and my idea was to use smoke on this trip. So we went into the Valley of Fires or whatever it's called near Vegas, but we didn't want to do it inside the actual reservation. So when we came out, I just thought, well, it was too dark. So I had the idea of using the headlamps from both cars. So there was one car parked over this side, and there was one car parked on the other side. And then we set the bombs off. Kerry is letting the smoke out just over here. And I photographed directly using the A7R4 with also some light from my Profoto B10 to fill from the front. So that was the idea that I used there. And Lisdian loved this. This is Aaron's beautiful wife. So we had fun showing that as well. That's another bit of a blow up from that one. These were other ones that we just did. So stay tuned for all of these. These will all be shown up and coming soon online. That's Jade that we did. This was in the Valley of Fires at sunset time. That was another one of Brooke. This was fantastic because this was Ike's workshop. I saw this area down further down, and it reminded me of Mad Max. What this wonderful model did was she dressed up exactly like I could picture Mad Max. And I said to Aaron, my God, we've got to take this girl away. So we grabbed the girl. Did it mention her name there again? I can't remember. Ike may be able to tell me what her name was again. But I said to Aaron and stuff, let's grab her. So we took her and we went down to this little spot that had this white background, and it was all sand and dust or whatever it was. And I said, can you please sit on the bike and point at me? And it was a perfect Mad Max scene. And I love this. Wait till you see it. We've done a stack with this girl. She was absolutely beautiful, great person, lovely model. And she dressed, what she was wearing was just brilliant for that location. So I can't wait to share more images of that. Oh, and then it just goes down to other stuff, I think. So it's not relevant, I don't think. Oh, this is Aaron and lovely Lisdian. That was another one that I posted from there as well. This was from Langston's workshop. This was the only one that I posted straight out of camera again. I love reflections that were there. So no editing is done on these. These are all straight. Everything you've seen is straight out of camera. So there's no editing that's done. So it's, you know, I think overall once I start editing these, they're going to be really nice. This was at Ike's workshop, so stay tuned for this. This was a beautiful model as well. She was in the centre of the road and we were all photographing her. Like I said, I've filmed all behind the scenes and stuff of this as well. So stay tuned for this one. That'll be coming up. This was using the 17 to 28. This was an iPhone. I think, was this the A7R4? No, this is an iPhone. So this is the iPhone edit. So this is straight out of the iPhone. I wanted to try and get something a little bit different. So I laid down on the ground and I had the rock that was protruding on the left-hand side there because you always see it where it's the same like that. So I did lay down and took this shot, but I can't wait to have a look at the ones that were done with the A7R4. It was amazing. Like I said, the weather again was perfect and we had a gorgeous sunset not long after that. That's another iPhone edit. That's had a little bit of editing done on the iPhone. Nothing serious though. That's my son Damien. This was San Francisco. Dwayne took us down there. We all went down and we got some amazing shots of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I captured the wave that was sort of flying over the top here. I got a little bit wet. But again, this is just an iPhone edit, so straight out of camera. Nothing special there, so I can't wait to see the edited photos. That's another one. This was another one of that bridge. I can't remember. What was it called, that bridge? I don't know. But this was driving back from San Francisco to LA on the beach road. I'd never do that again because it was too windy. But you can see I wanted to, rather than shoot from the front, I thought I'd go to the back and get a nice curve and the beach and everything in the background. So again, this is just out of the iPhone. I have taken high-end photos, but I'll wait to show that a little bit later on. I love that photo, actually. Ice creams, we ate so much of these, like ice creams and pancakes. Is there anything else? And that's it, I think. So let me just come back to here and see where everyone's at before I say goodbye. I got a donation there. Who was that from? Anthony, sorry I missed that. Buy a coffee, might stay awake. Thank you so much, Anthony. Really appreciate that. Sorry I missed it. I didn't see you even donate that, but thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Photo Miakai of the older 15 megapixel got to convince work to upgrade me this year. Greg said you won't be disappointed with the A7R4. I probably won't be, Greg, but I still think looking at the file size, it's probably not a camera I'm going to buy. I just think I'll be sticking with the 24 megapixel camera, but wait till I see I might change my mind totally when I see the results. Dwayne said she lied. She has it. He's talking about my gimbal that was stolen. Arthur said, I wish everyone quoting Cripple Hammer would give Casey at Camera Conspiracies credit as it's his catchphrase. Insurance claim for the GoPro? I don't think so. I don't think I'd claim that, Greg. It's probably worth, I mean, what is it? The Osmo Mobile's probably, I'd probably have to pay excess or something, and I think they're only about $190 Australian, aren't they? I don't know what the excess is, but anyway, it was stolen, so... Langston says, I've uploaded 30 gigabytes of video since we started this live stream. I can imagine. PhotoMix says, I used to be that way, but my 27-inch iMac is getting long in the tooth, and I'm way more mobile than I used to be. Yeah, the new MacBooks are the way to go, I think. They're incredibly fast. Thanks so much, Anthony, for the donation. Langston said, Apple needs to bring in Blackmagic RAW already. I know, I don't know why they don't. What else? For example, if I have a MacBook, I could shoot tethered in the Struggle Studio so you guys could see images better. Exactly. Definitely the new MacBooks are the way to go. Like the 16 and 17-inch ones that are out are amazing. It's a 16-inch, isn't it? I think is a new one. Martin said you can adapt the 72mm filter and a rubber band to fit inside the 12 to 24 lens hood. Or you could get one of the filters that plugs in from the front. the square filter systems. During your trip, was there any way you found... During your trip, was there anything you found strange about USA culture that you weren't already aware of? Only really, we kept saying tea, which is our dinner. So we'd say we're going out for tea, and then everyone would think we were drinking tea all the time. So everyone got confused there. Appetizers is also something which for us, an appetizer is like an entree, which is a starter, not a main. And so we did get confused there, which was quite interesting with the language. Everyone kept thinking we were English that didn't know me. They were all saying, "Are you from England?" And it's quite funny. They couldn't tell the difference between the Aussie accent and the English accent. So I thought that was really funny. But overall, the Americans were amazing. They're so friendly, lovely, lovely people. Everyone I met up, I had an absolute ball with. Fantastic group of people, and I'd love to go back. It was amazing. Aaron said, "I love the bag." Yeah, I love the bag too, Aaron. It's brilliant. I absolutely adore that backpack. It's incredible. It's the best pack I've ever had or ever used. Nice photo of my wife and I. Love it, lad. That was cool that we did that. My wife nailed the pose that you captured. I know she did. She nailed that pose, Aaron. That was the one in the firework with the smoke. It was brilliant. Aaron, we stole her. We sure did. Maisha is the girl's name, is it? Yeah, she's actually great. She actually wasn't my model. She was an extra that came with another photographer. But her look really did match the location the best. Oh, that's interesting, Ike. Wow. I thought she was one of yours. I'll show her in that workshop anyway. But yeah, she was amazing. It's hard to get something different from there. That's quite funny, though, because we took her off then. That's hilarious. Oh, that is so funny. Amazing shoot. Beautiful day at the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah, we did. We had an amazing. And how are you, Bruce? Bruce is another amazing person I met up. Ryan was amazing. Bixby Bridge, that's it. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Nothing wrong with vanilla shots. Always grab the vanilla shots and then try for something different. 101 isn't for the faint of heart, that's for sure. That road, I would never go down it again. It's not only... I didn't mind the drive, but it was just that it was round and round and round for about 100 miles or something. It was just crazy. But I'm glad we did it, but I wouldn't do it again. The California coast is one of the most beautiful drives ever. It was a beautiful drive, Ike. Yeah, we saw some amazing sea lions and elephant seals and everything. It was beautiful. And we saw otters, stacks of stuff there, some squirrels. So it was so good. Great, thanks for the show, Jim. And Jim also was amazing. Jim kept us laughing the whole time we were over there. We drove the RT1 from Bay Area down to LA. Took 8 hours for the drive. That's normally 5. Yeah, it took us about that as well. I think around 8 to 10. It was a slow drive. Large meal size. Oh, yes, Aaron, the large meal sizes. It was so funny because the first day we got there when we went to Venice Beach, we went to a Chinese restaurant and we sat outside and they brought out the meal. We ordered what we call an entree, which is a starter. Well, I can't remember whatever you call it. But anyway, we ordered the entree, which was the starter. And that came out and it was about this big. And Kerry looked at me and went, "Oh, no," because we'd also ordered a main meal. And so I said to the guy that when he came out, it was only half finished. And I said to the guy, "Look, I'm sorry, but we just can't eat this much. Please don't think we don't like your food when you bring out the main and we only eat a small part of it." So they brought the main out, and the main was this massive meal as well. And so we only got through about a third of that as well. And then at the end, he said, "Do you want to take it?" But the place we were staying never had a microwave and everything, so we didn't. But we just said, "Look, we love the food. It was beautiful, but we just couldn't eat it." So from that point on, Kerry and myself only ordered one meal between us each day when we went to a restaurant. And we ate that way the whole time. So it was a lot cheaper in that regard because we ordered one meal and shared it and it was ample for the way we eat. So the US food sizes are nuts. I couldn't believe how big. Like even if you go into McDonald's and you order a Coke, like your small is our large. Like I ordered the small and it was coming out like this and I laughed and said, "Oh my God, that's like our large Coke size." And that was your small, and it's really funny. It really is. But absolutely loved it. So that part of it was good once we got used to it. We just ordered a meal between us. Large meal size, yeah, that's what had the same problem with the food, Anthony said. Aaron said, laugh out loud. I had no idea she was not part of Ike's show. I know, Aaron, I didn't know that either. That was so funny. So we were treating her like she was part of Ike's group and grabbing her away and doing everything with her. Oh, it's so funny. What a crack up. But you know what? I saw her at WPPI the next day and she came over and thanked us. She thanked Kerry and myself and said we were wonderful. So you would have been in that as well because you were with us, but you'd left by then. But yeah, she came up and thanked us, and I thought she was just from Ike's workshop. So that is hilarious that we were treating it like she was from there and that we owned her. That is so funny. I can't get over that. That's hilarious. Carol said, what US food will you miss the most? The pancakes, Carol. Oh my God. I was having pancakes every day for breakfast. I had blueberries, strawberry, just with the maple syrup. Oh, I miss that straight away. I miss it now. I love the pancakes. Loss, you are the best. Your camera, bro. Good video. I'm not sure what that means. Jim said, weather forecast from Melbourne. Yeah, Jim gave me a weather forecast every day, which was really funny. We were cracking up every day looking at that. Well, he sent us even when Jim left from WPPI, he was sending a weather forecast to us every day, which was really funny. Claim Jumpers has ridiculous meal size. Too bad they're gone. And we loved the burger place? What's the burger place? One something. We adored those burgers. They only have about 3 burgers, and the chips are made fresh there. Like they peel them and then make the chips fresh. I went there with Aaron, and we also went there on our own with Jerry as well later on. Oh, what's the burger place called? Someone's going to know what they're called. But we love those burgers. Oh, they were so good. I mean, she was with us. I just didn't book her. Oh, okay. So she was with you, but you didn't book her. Oh, okay. She gave me lots of love on Instagram. Hello, David. AGF said, sorry late, Gerald. G'day, Gerald. Boy, you've missed a lot of the show. Thanks, Gerald, for everything you did for us too, and I've discussed that earlier. Gerald has also just shared recently photography, videography school, our Antelope Canyon shoot. Ryan said, so funny. Oh, pancakes, yum. Aaron says, we eat pancakes every weekend. Hey, Gerald, the first show back and you show up at the end. In-N-Out Burger, yes, that's it. Sizzleman said to me on the first day we met up at WPPI, he asked if I'd been to In-N-Out Burger, and I said no. And he went, what? You haven't been to In-N-Out Burger? And Sizzleman gave me the biggest cuddle that I've ever had. He was one massive African-American, and he made me look like a dwarf, but he was so funny. Great guy. Anyway, so we did end up going, and I loved it. Really good burgers. Michael Maestro's burger joint was amazing too. I think Michael's Burgers, he has a restaurant in LA, was the best burger I tasted the whole time I was in LA. It was amazing. But the In-N-Out Burgers was great for like fast food type food. Loved it. In-N-Out is overrated. Who said that? Was that Ike? We loved it, Ike. I loved it. But then again, it's new for us. So In-N-Out, a staple of the American diet. Gerald said In-N-Out Burger, yep. The hype is on In-N-Out. I loved it. It was great. Loved it. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Even if it's wrong, Langston said, I love it. 5 guys over everything. Carol says, hi, Gerald. Ryan says, haha. Jim said, laugh out loud. I'm a grown man. I eat pancakes whenever I want. I love it. You tell us about Michael's joint. Michael, it's what was the name of Michael's burger joint, Jerry? There we go. Michael's Burger IM. It was amazing, Ike. Beautiful burgers, right? Not far from the Staples Centre, really. We walked from Michael's to the Staples Centre the next day. I think it's on 7th Street, near the railway line. You know how you have the tunnel? It's right near there, but that was a beautiful burger because we had, I can't remember the steak, it was Angola, no, Angus beef we had, and it was absolutely amazing. We loved it. But the only thing was, that was our meet-up for LA, and we were 3 hours late because it took us 3 hours from Venice Beach to LA because the roads were all blocked off and something nuts happened. Everyone waited, and we were so thankful for that. But it was a 3-hour road trip from Venice to LA, but we still got the Burger IMs. They were amazing. The R5 won't be 5 to 6,000 if Canon aimed at 5D users. Yeah, we had quite a lot of Mexican food. Loved it, Alex. We do love Mexican food as well. I love really any food that's out there, Chinese, Mexican, everything. So we did enjoy that. In fact, Alex, we had a Mexican night where I met up with a lot of the people on this chat. We had a meet-up in LA. It was sort of halfway between LA or Hollywood and Santa Monica, and we had Mexican food that night. It was lovely. Don't have In-N-Out burgers in India, but we do have Five Guys. You could have walked there faster. We could have walked there. I know, it was ridiculous. It took 3.5 hours, I think, to get there. So it was pretty nuts. All right, guys. I think I'm going to go. I've just about finished my beer. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for upcoming videos. I'll have a few reviews and stuff like that, and start posting photos soon. Like I said, I haven't even put them out there yet, so that'll happen pretty soon. I should be back this week with Aaron. I'll have to get in contact with Aaron and make sure we're going to go ahead, but we should be back with Behind the Photo Show this week. So stay tuned for that. That should be fun as well. I think that's on Wednesday your time in the US. So stay tuned for that. And apart from that, I'll be back next week for the live photo video, whatever, Sony Rumors show on the Thursday. I'm a day later today, but I was so jet lagged, I still am a bit. So apart from that, guys, thanks so much for all chiming in. Thanks so much for all the donations. Can't thank all the Americans and everyone I met up over there enough. You guys were absolutely awesome. And it was just so great to put to meet people and be able to put faces to names. And I really appreciate that so much. And that's about all, guys. So I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.